Hey guys, this is Cast for Closers, your podcast for dominating inside sales and hitting your quota. Today we will talk about sales prospecting, and we have a very special guest here today, Steli Efti. Steli is CEO of Close.io, an inside sales CRM for startups and SMBs. Steli is also one of the most respected sales minds in Silicon Valley, and he will share with us his knowledge on sales prospecting. Steli, welcome to the show. It's a pleasure to have you here with us. And please feel free to take a few minutes or a few moments to introduce yourself.
Diego, it's my honor and pleasure. Thanks for inviting me. Just to give people some context, I'm originally from Greece, grew up in Germany, and then 10 years ago, I sold everything I had, I bought a one-way ticket, and I came to San Francisco, into Silicon Valley. I've been a lifelong entrepreneur. I've never had a real job in my life. And my entrepreneurial superpower, if I have one, was always sales, making things happen in the world through the power of communication. So I'm thrilled to be on the podcast. Hope we can share some tactical stuff for the audience.
Yeah, sure. I was watching your TED Talk and I heard a lot of your story. I have some questions about it, so we will jump in the final of the podcast. But Steli, I must confess, you were chosen to record this show because I know you know what you do in sales, but we also love the energy you put in your videos, in your talks, in your speech. And for me, energy is one of the most important aspects on sales prospecting because that's how you differentiate yourself from like a telemarketing operator. How do you keep, or how do you teach your reps to keep the energy up in the sales calls over and over the day, over and over the years?
That's a great question. I think that, so there's a number of things I do to try to manage my energy, right? Yeah. And many of these things are not earth-shattering. It's not things you've never heard. But it's the fundamentals, I believe, that truly make the difference if you're consistent with them. So for me, it's all about making sure I sleep well and sleep enough, making sure that I exercise almost daily, making sure that I meditate, and I've been meditating for many years. Sometimes I'm better at it, sometimes I'm not. Sometimes I'll just meditate for 3 minutes or for just one breath, right? But I try to take a little bit of time off, and then I try to pace my energy. I know that whenever I talk to people, whenever I'm on stage, whenever I record content, whenever I talk to a prospect or a customer or to my team, I want to be as giving as possible. I want to give people everything I have to help them and to create as much value as possible. So I always schedule time away from that. So I schedule breaks where I can calm down and kind of recharge my batteries. Because I can't be like I am on stage, or even on the level of energy I'm on this podcast, I can't be like that 24/7. I don't have
Yes.
that energy, right? So I have to have times where I can come down to get back up. But my basic philosophy is that if I'm not excited to talk to you on this podcast, why should people be excited to listen to me? If I called you to prospect you. I dialed your number. It was my choice. You were just in your office doing your work, minding your business. I'm interrupting you. In order to interrupt you, if I'm not excited to speak to you, why should you give a fuck to talk to me? Why should you care? So I try to remind myself that I have to earn your time, I have to earn your attention, and I have to have good reasons why I feel like talking to you is an exciting thing, it's going to be a valuable thing. And when I can remind myself of that, I put myself in the right state of mind to talk to people. It's not always easy. I don't always feel like talking to people. I don't always feel excited. But the funny thing is, if you act excited, if you demand yourself to be on a high level of energy, sooner or later you start feeling excited. People respond to you in an excited way, and then energy feeds off of energy, and it's much easier to continue on that level.
Yeah, two things you mentioned. Here at MeTime, we also meditate. I've been meditating for 3 years, and some of our employees, they took this habit, so they're meditating. I think there are 4 or 5 of us right now meditating almost daily. So it's been a practice here in our company. And when I'm also teaching inside sales for people, I always say, if you think that you are bothering your prospect, he will sense it. He or she will sense it, and the energy will go down, and you have probably a bad call. So when you said that energy feeds up energy, it makes total sense.
Yeah, you have to sell yourself first before you can sell anyone else. That's how it goes. If you're not sold on your service, if you're not sold on the value of this prospecting call or this cold email, they're not going to be sold either. So the first person every single morning you have to sell, first and foremost, is yourself before you go out there in the world to sell anybody else.
Yeah, that's interesting. Another thing, you interviewed Gary Vaynerchuk, and he said a lot of things, even related with energy and confidence. But one thing that he explained to the audience that shocked me, he's obsessed by hearing and asking real questions, not just to get permission to talk, but to really understand the customer's need. And if you boil sales prospecting, that's what's left, hearing and understanding. So how do you prepare yourself to really understand your customers' needs and fears that you could share with us?
There's two things. One is you have to care.
Yes.
This is, again, it's so simple. It is easy to miss this point. But if you don't truly care about your customers or your prospects, if you don't truly care about understanding them, if you don't truly care about who they are and what they need, what their challenges are, if you don't truly care about if your product or solution or service is right for them or not, if you don't care, it will come through by you asking questions where the answers are actually irrelevant to you because you don't really give a shit. You just have to ask the question. You really will just want to sell. You don't care really about anything else. You're selfishly interacting with them because you want to get a commission. You want to close a deal. You want to make money. It's all about just you. If you don't care, I cannot teach you any communication technique or question technique that's going to matter because you don't care, right? So you need to care about people. And then the second thing is you need to learn, and this is something that takes time and practice, but most people are not aware when they are interpreting what they hear or when they are truly understanding what they just heard, right? So oftentimes somebody will give you an answer, and that answer is not complete. That answer is not actually giving you all the data and information to truly understand what they're doing.
Perfect.
But because you're so in a rush to get to your next question, you're just filling the blanks in your own mind. So the customer goes, well, I've seen this so many times with salespeople. The prospect will go, well, I don't know, there's many things that we need to consider. Budget is one, timeline is another, and the third one is, this, that, and whatever. And then the salesperson will respond, yeah, I do totally understand that you want to have the best price and really cheap, and that's the most important thing for you. And I'm like, whoa. We didn't say that. Nobody said that.
Yes.
They said three things matter: budget, this and that. When they say budget matters, they didn't say it needs to be cheap.
Yeah.
You need you need to go back. Somebody telling you budget is important to us is not enough information. You need to go back and go, okay, let's go through this list one by one. First, you mentioned budget. Can you tell me more about what kind of budget you have, what's important when you think about budget? Tell me more. And then maybe their answer is, well, we have 20 million to deploy here. It's important that we spend all the money because if we don't spend our budget this year, we're going to have the budget cut next year, right?
Perfect.
And all of a sudden, this is a totally different answer than potentially saying, yeah, well, to be honest with you, we're in some cash, we have some cash problems and issues. Right now, we're running out of money. So I really can't afford anything that costs more than $1 a decade or something, right? And these are drastically different answers or details to budget matters to us, right? So the best way to truly get to the core of what the prospect is telling you, to truly understand what they're telling you, what their situation is to dig deeper, to ask follow-up questions, not just to allow surface level information to be taken and interpreted on your end, but to take that surface level information and go, let's go deeper. Let me ask follow-up questions to truly understand what you mean when you say budget is important, or security is important to you, or integrations are important to you. What does that truly mean? Why is it important? Like, really dig deep. If you do that, if you ask follow-up questions, you truly try to get to the detail and the depth of the answer, you'll do really fine.
Yeah, Gary also told on his interview to you, and it relates to digging, like he's obsessed with not just the technical aspect of hearing, but the behavioral aspect of hearing. Mm-hmm. Like he said, if a prospect wants a $12 bottle of wine, I would not be satisfied until I had the full context. Like, why do you need a $12 wine? A party, a football game, a gathering with your friends, your boss? So he could like offer a $8 bottle of wine for friends or a $15 bottle of wine for his boss. So he was obsessed with not just the technical, but the behavioral aspect of what the prospect has on her mind, or is not telling you on the first or the second answer, right?
Yeah, and that's why it's so successful.
Yeah.
It's what makes the difference between people that are okay at sales and people that are truly great at it.
Yeah. It forges outliers, right?
Yeah.
So another important topic that our audience has the interest, and I want your view on, is providing value to the prospect, like right on the first minutes, and not just good energy, like we were talking on the first question. What are your thoughts about not just listening, but providing real value to the conversation with the prospect?
I think that anything and everything you do, your goal should be to create value in the world in every single exchange, to leave everyone that you're interacting with in a better state, with more information, with more success than when you met them and engaged with them. I think that a lot of times salespeople might take this advice and, again, apply it, I think, poorly by thinking, well, I need to offer value. Let me just send some article to all my prospects, right? Or let me call them. This is even worse. Let me call them, and I've done a little bit of research on clothes. I'm calling Steli. So now I'm going to show them how much I know about clothes, and I'm going to tell him all about his company. Well, motherfucker, I know more about my company than you, and there's no value in you telling me, oh, I research clothes, and I know you guys do this and you do that. I mean, that doesn't really matter to me, right? It doesn't really help me. The best way, in my mind, to create value to people is to have empathy for their situation, to show that you are thoughtful so that you use their time wisely. If you call me and you tell me, Steli, the two different calls, right? So, or calls or emails, it doesn't really matter what the context is. If you reach out to me and your pitch is, Steli, I know you're a SaaS founder. I know that you have a successful and profitable company. I know all these other things about you. Here's an article about how to run a remote company I think you'll find interesting. If that's your intro trying to provide value, I've already deleted your message or hung up the phone, right? Because I'm like, you're just wasting my time. The article you're sharing is most likely not going to be an article I have not seen or is really useful or valuable to me right now. And you tell me that you know all these things about me also doesn't matter. If you send me an email, this is explicitly telling me all these things you know and how much you're trying to provide value, but still missing the point. If you instead call me or email me and you say, Steli, I know you are busy and I know that you probably want to delete any email that has anything to do with, let's say, recruiting, right? Because you get tons of these messages. All I want from you is 3 more sentences before you hit that delete button so I can make my case, because I think there might be something here, although you don't want to work with recruiters typically. Now you got something.
Yeah.
Right? Now I'm like, whoa, motherfucker, show me the next 3 sentences, right? Now I'm curious. But the important thing is you've implicitly shown me that you know who I am. You understand that my inbox is full of fucking recruiter emails and my voicemail is full of recruiter voicemails. You have empathy for my life, my situation. You tell me, dude, I know that you don't want to talk about this right now. I know that you want to delete it. Here's why I still reached out to you. I have something so valuable that I think it still makes sense to try to connect with you, although you don't want to talk to me. Now you're showing me that you know who you're dealing with, so I'm willing to give you a little bit of my time, right?
Right.
So now, it doesn't mean that now if you pitch me, I'm going to buy or not buy, but at least the way you've provided value to me is that you respected my time and you showed you truly understand who I am in the way you're communicating to me. That to me, if you put yourself in the shoes or in the situation of your prospects, and when you send emails or you tweet them or you show up at their offices, when you take into consideration what is this person's life right now? When I interrupted Steli and he picks up the phone and he doesn't know who I am, how do I have to answer the questions he has on his mind? Who the fuck is this? Why is he calling me or she calling me? How do I get off this phone call? If I can address these issues and be highly respectful of this person's time. To me, that's the best way to create value.
Yeah, it's fantastic because sales is evolving, right? So when you were talking about the first email, I said, yeah, maybe he's doing just fine. The result will be okay. But we are so full of information and our time is so full that even an okay email doesn't get read anymore, right?
Yeah, we had this conversation recently on the I have a podcast with Heaton Shah, who's a legend in Silicon Valley and in SaaS. Yeah. And he said, I quote him because I love this quote. He said, good email is dead. Great email is more alive and successful than ever before. Right? Because we're talking about this concept that lots of people are always talking about, oh, email is dead, email doesn't work anymore, email marketing, email lists don't matter. And every few years there's somebody new that's saying email is now dead. Nobody's going to be using email anymore. And he was like, yeah, well, shitty email, bad emails were always dead. Good emails in today's world that is so crowded, good email is dead. But great email is well and alive. You will always stand out. You will always be successful if you go that extra little mile. And so to me, the greatest emails are those that communicate to me that they truly get it, that they know who they just emailed, they understand who I am and what I deal with and how I think about these emails, and they address it instead of hiding from it. Those emails are the ones that stand out to me.
Fantastic. I was reading a blog post from you, from Close.io's blog, about 5 struggles every inside sales rep feels. And number 4 was finding the time to get it all done. As the number of distractions, and we are talking about it right now, around us increase every year, how do you manage your time to be a productive salesperson and get the most of your prospecting time?
I think this is a challenge that every one of us faces, and more people will face in more and more dramatic ways in the world that we live in. I think you have to learn and master the ability to say no. You cannot time manage. You cannot do time management by saying yes to everything, right? Yeah. And then just bucketing your time in 3 minutes I'm going to be reading Facebook, and then 2 minutes Twitter, and then 1 minute I'm going to send an email, and then 5 minutes I'm doing this. And no, you're not. That's not managing your time, right? What is managing your time is starting your day with not a to-do list, but a not to-do list. This is how I start my day. I ask myself, what am I not going to do today, right? And I go, right. Oh, today I'm not going to answer all my emails in my inbox. Today I'm not going to check out this project or that project. Today I'm not going to read these blog posts that I really want to read. Today I'm not going to do all this shit. And then once I have my not to-do list for today, I go, oh shit, so what am I going to do today, right? Because I just created time. I created space in my day, and now I have to fill it purposely. So I go, well, what's really important right now, my pipeline is drying up. The most important thing I can do is I can prospect. That means I should at least spend 3 hours on the phone and 2 hours sending emails. And then I'm like, well, but that's just 5 hours. That's not 8 hours of my day. Well, cool, motherfucker, do those 5 hours, do them right now. And once you're done, you still have 3 hours left for the day. You can then decide what to do with those hours. That's my biggest tip to people is you have to say no to things, no to meetings, no to coffee, meetings where you chit-chat for a fucking hour. You have to, even as a salesperson, you should not have 60-minute calls, 90-minute calls. Your calls should be 15 minutes, 25 minutes. You need to be precious with your time. You have to say no to distractions and no to things that are nice to have, fun to do, but not truly essential to your mission.
Yeah, I think Steve Jobs has a sentence like, focus is not saying yes to all the things that matter, but saying no to the million things that don't matter right now. I love this. I love this sentence. Yeah, I carry it.
It takes no courage to say yes. Yes is easy. It actually takes balls and courage, metaphorically speaking.
Yes.
Courage to say no to things. No, I'm not going to participate in this meeting. No, I'm not going to join on this call. No, I'm not going to read this blog post. No, I'm not going to, saying no takes courage. And it's the courageous that have power over their time versus allowing the world around them to dictate how they are wasting their time throughout the day.
One thing you mentioned on the TED Talk is that you start your day asking yourself, what if I could do one thing to move my business? What would it be? and you start your day with that. I also think that's a useful tip for our salespeople.
Yeah, you know what the problem is with that nobody is mentioning, is that when I ask myself, if I could only do one thing today, what would be the one thing that would move my business forward in the most significant way? Whatever the answer is typically something I don't want to do right now.
Yes.
Right? So that's why we're not all fucking the most productive humans on the planet, all doing all the right things all at the right time. The reason is that the thing you should be doing is most likely something you don't want to do right now. And that's why we're all looking for distractions. And that's why we're not doing the most important thing first. What I've learned is not just to ask myself the question, what's the most important thing I should do? But then to tell myself, it doesn't matter if you want to do it. It doesn't matter if you feel like doing it. Actually, the more you don't want to do it, the more you need to do it right now. The more you don't feel like doing it, the more valuable it's going to be if you do it anyways. I have this internal mantra that goes, do it anyways. Well, but I'm not really feeling like that. Well, doesn't matter. Do it anyways. Well, but I'm going to do a really poor job if I do it now because I'm not inspired right now. Well, who gives a shit? Do it anyways. And that really has changed my life. And learning to do the things you don't feel like doing, that is really the key to success and the key to freedom. Have the freedom over your own will, your own time, your own energy, in my mind. And that's also the tricky thing. It's managing our own emotions when we don't want to do the things we all know we need to do.
Yeah, it's fantastic because all of your decisions have some kind of emotional attachment to it. And using your brain to take them, it's really, really vital. So, Steli, we're approaching the end of the year, a very good time for reflections and resolutions, right? I was watching your TED Talk, I mentioned a few times ago, and something you said about happiness in entrepreneurship just hit me, that it's the emotional roller coaster, and it's just so similar to sales. So if you could let a message or a resolution to our sales audience for 2018, what would it be about happiness?
I would tell people, don't set goals for 2018. Don't create New Year's resolutions that are incredibly ambitious. Oh, I'm going to change everything about me. I'm going to start working out every day 7 times a week, and I'm going to eat differently, and I'm going to read 1,000 books, and I'm going to do all. Like, don't do this shit. Like, you've done it probably before a number of times. It has not worked yet, so don't continue doing the same thing that isn't working. My tip for you is ask yourself, what is one thing I'm not doing right now, a small thing, that if I did it every day for the rest of my life, it would make myself, my life, and the world a better place? What is one thing I can do consistently every day? A little thing, something that takes 5, 10, 15 minutes, whatever it is. Doesn't have to be a huge thing. Something I can do every day that could change the trajectory of my life if I do it long enough, over decades and decades and decades. And then I would start with that. 2018, just take a little action, something that takes 10 minutes, and do it, and set yourself the goal to do it 365 days, the entire year of 2018. Not just the first month, not just the first week or the first day. And I want you to select a goal that seems so small that it's not inspiring, not exciting, something so small that you go, yeah, it would take probably 20 years before this really makes a difference. Awesome. Pick it and do it. And I'll tell you, these big things have small beginnings. If you can create a habit around something that creates value, it is going to grow in momentum and it's going to change your world and the world. And I had a history of always setting these huge, amazingly exciting goals. Oh, next month I'm going to run a marathon. I'm going to do these 400 other things. And then I would crush and fail at it because it was unrealistic to change that dramatically, that quickly. But once I started setting habit goals and setting small goals and focusing on the consistency and setting 10, 20, 30-year goalposts and not just like, oh, next month I want to do blah, 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 it really made a massive difference in the success I've had. And these years go by really quickly. You know, when I started doing content, it was 5 years ago when I started doing videos and blogs, and it didn't really mean that much the first month that I did it and the second. But once I made the commitment, you know what, I'm going to record a video every single day of the work week, 5 videos a week. Now these last 4 or 5 years have gone by so quickly, and it has created such an impact in my life and in my business. So that's my advice, and that's my little gift to everybody for 2018. Pick a small goal that you're going to do every day and then go out there and do it.
Fantastic, Steli. I had a great time here. I want to thank you for sharing your time with these 26, 27 minutes with us. I wish you a Merry Christmas, a Happy New Year, and thanks again for your time.
Thank you so much, Diego. Thanks for everybody for listening. If anyone needs help, has questions, I've written a number of books. If you want to get my books on sales, on startups, on entrepreneurship, shoot me an email, steli@close.io. Subject line, bundle motherfucker, and I'll send you a link with all my books for free as a little Christmas gift for me. Thank you so much. Talk soon.
Bye-bye, Steli.